I found myself transported into a novel as a wealthy heir, and I march enemies with the villainous Lu Ruyan. It's a life or death kind of rivalry. According to the original story, that's how it should go. But I arrived in this world a bit earlier than the original timeline. Right now, I'm just in my early 20s. Lu Ruyan is still just a high school girl. She's calling me brother every other sentence. A not yet corrupted, underage version of the villainous, like a schoolgirl. I fell into deep thought. I finally decided to correct her future properly, but I didn't expect him to still go astray. Why would you suddenly push me down like that? That's not how it was written in the original. Brother Hee-chong, do you know how to solve this problem? Ka-chong and I are going on a date. Brother, will you wait for me to grow up? There's nothing soft about that big bed. Lu Ruyan grabbed my wrist and pinned me down. His gaze swept over my body with intense aggression. Then he licked his lips. Bro, I turned 18 today. Let the story begin. Do you know how many years you can get for messing with a minor? At the dinner table, my best buddy Chody suddenly blurted this out. I almost sprayed my cola everywhere. I wiped my mouth with annoyance. Couldn't you wait until I swallowed before asking me? You specifically waited for this moment to speak up. Chody slowly swallowed the barbecue in his mouth. It's a minimum of 3 years, and it could go up to life. You've gone straight into acute iron poisoning. You sure know how to chat. I'll pour the Coke again. Chody shrugs. So why do you insist on the neglected third young lady of the Lu family? Don't tell me it's just lust. I heard he's not even 18 yet. Why do you have such a dirty mind at your young age? And what's wrong with being 18? Aren't I just over 20? I reached out with my chopsticks and picked up a few freshly grilled pieces of meat from in front of him. While dipping in the sauce, I said, let me be honest with you. I'm actually a prophet. I can foresee the future. What do you predict? I see that little girl from the future. She will become a female tyrant, and then she'll trample over me mercilessly. In the end, she'll keep me as her pet. So that's the benefit, but what's the cost? Chody calmly said. Something unbelievable. I glanced him up and down, and quietly shifted my butt back. So you're actually this twisted. You're just talking nonsense. Why won't you let me speak? But you must have your own reasons, right? If you don't want to talk, I won't ask. Chody pushed up his glasses. I picked up my phone from the table and took a quick look. I stood up suddenly, saying I had something to take care of, so I'll be leaving now. Enjoy your meal. Please say hi to the young lady for me. I pointed at the plate of meat she brought over. If you don't finish what you picked, this meal is on me. All right, boss. Take care. I waved goodbye to Chody. Then I started my struggle with the barbecue. Honestly, I wasn't lying. I really do know what the future holds, because I traveled into this novel. About a month ago, after liking sweet stories on Ding Dong every day, I was transported to another world by a Ding Dong truck. And when I opened my eyes again, I found myself as this character in the novel Who Shares My Name. According to the original plot, I will later offend the villain in the book, Lu Ruyan, a third miss who suffered abuse from her family, and ultimately became completely twisted. She has outstanding business talent, built an empire, but a lot of illegal and disorderly things were done during the process. His ending was during the police chase. Hit the oil tanker and it's gone. Logically, I should keep my distance from such a bad woman. But things are not quite as I expected. When I came through, Lu Ruyan hadn't turned dark yet. She's just a youthful and beautiful underage JK now. Mostly due to family reasons, the person feels a bit gloomy. So a few days ago, before the business negotiation between the He and Lu families, I used a piece of land in the east of the city as a trade-off, and got Lu Ruyan from the Lu family in return. Of course, I also offered some other benefits. This quickly spread throughout the entire circle, and almost everyone thought the He family was crazy. Let them say whatever they want. In the end, that piece of land won't yield anything. While I enjoy the pleasure of grilling meat alone, I mumble quietly to myself. I need to contact the archaeological team again after a while. What are you talking about? A confused voice suddenly came from behind me. I turned around to look. A girl in a school uniform with a ponytail was standing behind me without me noticing, but there was a hint of naive clarity in her eyes. She looked like she didn't have much going on in school. Have you had dinner? I replied. Lu Ruyan sat down across from me. He nodded and said he had already eaten. Then wait for me for a moment. I'll finish up quickly. If you still want to eat, just help yourself. With that, I started to gobble down my food. I inhaled the food on the table like a storm. Maybe it was because I was eating so deliciously. He couldn't resist in the end, and ate some as well. After the meal, Lu Ruyin put her backpack on again, silently following behind me, quietly sitting in the back seat. I took the driver's seat, started the car, and drove out of the mall's underground parking. By this time, it was getting late. There weren't many cars on the street. The bright moonlight peeked through the clouds, shining down on the ground along with the streetlights. Lu Ruyin and I were walking in front and behind each other. No one spoke, just maintaining this silence. Headed toward my home. From today, he officially leaves the Lu family, all the way to the last intersection. When I stopped the car at the red light, the girl who had been silent finally spoke up. "Why did you do that day?" One hand propped on the window, the other lightly tapping the steering wheel. What's with that tone of rhetorical questioning? In the rearview mirror, Lu Ruyin's lips parted and closed repeatedly. Why was I chosen? Clearly, I was just delivering that package. You could exchange it for something much more valuable. You might be misunderstanding. Our family doesn't engage in losing deals, I said with a smile. You're worth much more than that piece of land. You don't need to comfort me. Lu Ruyin straightened up for a moment. She leaned back against the chair, hiding herself in the shadows. I know exactly how inadequate I am. I can't compare to my older siblings. I know my parents don't think much of me either. That's why I brought you out of that place, I replied. For now on, please forget their opinions of you. I will help you prove your worth. Why do you want to help me? The girl's voice in the back seat wavered as I thought for a moment. Maybe it's just because I want to see a happy ending. In the original story, Lu Ruyin ended up doing those things. Cannot be easily forgiven, but due to empathy, her past still evokes sympathy. Rejected by biological parents, being insulted and ordered around like a servant by older brothers and sisters. Just because I accidentally touched my sister's necklace. Just got slapped. I don't have many friends at school either. To be honest, there are a few incidents that have happened to me regarding these matters. I just want to explode directly with this world. But Lu Ruyin still seems a bit gloomy and reserved. That's already a sign of strong mental resilience. However, even the strongest hearts can break at some point. So I've thought before, if there's ever a chance for everything to change, what kind of ending would he eventually have? Is this considered a form of alternative development? I found myself glancing back at the rearview mirror again. The girl in the mirror still hides herself in the shadows, but I can sense that she is looking back at me through the mirror. Let me ask you a question. I'm saying this in a serious tone. If I were to go after the Lu family and Lu group, what would you do? Without a hint of hesitation, Lu Ruyin replied, I would help you. Then I can rest assured. The car fell silent again, until Lu Ruyin spoke up once more, her voice returning to its usual coolness. The light is already green. Oh, I didn't notice I drove past the last intersection. My house is a large villa. Usually, it's just me and my parents. There are also a few servants living here. Now, there's an additional tenant. When Lu Ruyin walked through the front door, the lights were still on inside. The old couple was snuggled up on the sofa. He Jianjun was wearing glasses and flipping through a book. Yao Yuqing was happily watching the cover on TV. They heard us coming back. They all turned to look at the door. Lu Ruyin shrank half her body behind me. She awkwardly bowed and said good evening. Why are you still awake so late? I waved to the elders and waited for me. He Jianjun closed the book. He said with irritation, Who's waiting for you, you little brat? No idea what you've been up to. You're back so late. He said, glancing over me, looking behind me. Is she the little girl you mentioned before? Come here, let's take a look. Hey, what are you doing? It's her first time here. Don't scare her. Yao Yuqing shot a glance at her husband, retracting the hand that was resting on her waist. She turned around and kindly waved at Lu Ruyin. It's fine, come over. Seeing my mother's gaze filled with scrutiny and admiration, I couldn't shake the feeling that she might have misunderstood something. But never mind, it doesn't really matter. Lu Ruyin pressed her lips together and looked at me. After I nodded, she stepped towards the sofa. Finally, at my mom's invitation, she sat down next to her and asked about my dad. He Jianjun who had unknowingly sat down on the single sofa, was staring at me with an intensity that made me feel a bit uneasy. I watched as Lu Ruyan was already taken away. Yao Yuqing, who started chatting about family matters. I shrugged my shoulders to indicate it's none of my business. I walked over and leaned against the back of the sofa. Pretending to be casual, I sighed. Regarding family status, I see that. You don't want your allowance anymore. You've misunderstood. I was actually talking about myself, you little brat. He Jianjun saw his wife smiling brightly and didn't say anything more. Just stand up and tell me. Come to the study with me for a moment, understood? Before leaving, I looked towards Lu Ruyan again. The girl is under my mother's onslaught. Seems a bit at a loss, but it seems that overall there is not much resistance or panic. There shouldn't be anything wrong. I let go of my worries and left with He Jianjun. The conversation between the two people reached my ears like smoke. What do you think of my son? That aunt, she and I. Should be fine, right? Let's go into the study. He Jianjun sat down on the chair behind the desk. He motioned for me to sit across from him. As soon as I took my seat, he suddenly spoke up. Your mom and I are planning to move out. Why? I was taken aback. This is the first time I'm hearing about it. Honestly, I didn't know about it until today either. He Jianjun rubbed his forehead. It's not what your mom said. Us two old folks at home might easily disturb your young people's feelings. Plus, her girlfriends mostly moved to the villa area in the West End. She also wants to take this chance to move there. That's when I remembered. We still have a few houses in the West End villa area, you know, Dad. You guys misunderstood. I brought Lu Ruyan over not because of... He Jianjun raised his palm to signal me to stop. With heartfelt advice. I'm fine, son. Your parents are quite open-minded about this. You don't need to explain anything. And you're already at this age. It's time to think about it. But as he spoke, he stood up, walked around the desk, and came to my side. He heavily patted my shoulder, saying, Son, I think we've done a pretty good job educating you. So before you do certain things, you need to think it through. I'm getting dizzy from his words. Dad, what exactly do you want to say? That girl from the Lu family is indeed very beautiful. Heavier pressure from He Jianjun's hand on my shoulder. But he's still a minor. Why do you say that too? I find it both funny and frustrating. Where are you headed? Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. All right, let's head back inside. Remember to remind your mom in the living room. Don't chat for too long. The little girl has school tomorrow. He Jianshun let go and was the first to leave the study. When I got to the living room, only Yao Yuqing was left. Lu Ruyan was already gone. I asked, where's Lu Ruyan? I let her go back to rest first. Do you really think your mom is that clueless? She'll just keep chatting with her endlessly. Yao Yuqing seems to be in a good mood. I wonder what she and Lu Ruyan talked about. I heard from Dad that you guys are planning to move out. Yeah, it should be in a couple of days. Don't worry, son. Mom won't disturb your world. Young people. No, Mom, you misunderstood. It's fine, I understand. Who hasn't been young before? Yao Yuqing joked. Then the tone lowered a few degrees. But I don't know if Ru Yan is at her original home. What kind of treatment do they receive? I have heard some rumors. It seems that everything is true now. He is a poor child. Don't you bully others. You can rest assured of that. I will definitely protect her well. I'm pretty confident about this. After all, I still want to make money with Lu Ruyan. With his future achievements, he'll definitely earn more and more. Even though the He family isn't short on money right now. Who wouldn't want more, right? Yao Yuqing looked at him with a puzzled expression, as her son suddenly started to grin foolishly. After shaking his head and leaving the living room, he headed to his room. Thanks to my mom's arrangements, Lu Ruyan's room is right next to mine. When I turned off the hallway light, I noticed a glow seeping through the crack of his door. What's he doing up so late? After a moment of thought, I gently knocked on the door, asking if he was still awake. There was silence for a few seconds behind the door. Then I heard some faint sounds and soft footsteps. Soon, the doorknob turned. The door opened just a crack. Lu Ruyan had changed into a light blue nightgown, with a padded coat over it. She let down her ponytail. Her hair cascaded softly over her shoulders. Overall, she seemed a bit less aloof. She appeared more gentle. One hand rested casually on the doorknob. She looked up at me. Her eyes were filled with confusion. Lu Ruyan opened her mouth. She hesitated for a second or two. It seemed she was contemplating how to address me. Is there something you need, Brother He Chong? I just saw your light was still on and you were studying. Out of courtesy, I didn't peek inside the room. I still can't get used to it and can't sleep. She paused for a moment. Then she opened the door. She stepped aside to make more room at the doorway. Although she didn't directly say it, it was undoubtedly an invitation for me to come in. After a brief hesitation, I walked in. The room is tidy and clean. Overall, it has a very girly vibe. It looks like my mom decorated it herself. On the desk, there's an open workbook and some pens and scrap paper lying around. I took a look at the problems. Math conic sections, goodbye. They say that when pushed to the limit, people can do anything. But I think math is the exception. After all, if you don't understand math, you just don't. The finals are just around the corner. So I want to study a bit more. Lu Ruyan walks over from the closed door. Can you do it? I'm trying to wake up the knowledge that's faded in my mind. Damn, is this what it feels like to lose all my skills? I struggled for a few seconds and chose to give up. I pointed at my own head. You think too highly of me. You have to understand, after going to college, my mind is as blank as if it had been reset to factory settings. Lu Ruyan sat down by the bed. She twirled her hair with her fingers. She seemed inexplicably a bit nervous. I can only say it's highly likely. I changed the subject. Are you satisfied with this room? Lu Ruyan looked down at the bed. Her slender fingers brushed over the sheets. To be honest, I'm a bit unaccustomed. It's so much better compared to my previous room. The bed is much more comfortable. All of this feels so unreal to me. I remember she was almost living in a storage room at her own home. My mom was shaking her head. Well, just try to adapt quickly. This will be your room from now on. The aunt just talked to me a lot. I think he made some valid points. After a strange silence, Lu Ruyan stopped twisting her hair. She bit her lower lip and suddenly stood up to walk towards me. It's like having made a certain determination. What did you talk to him about, Mom? Although I don't know what she said to you, but I think the development that follows. It may be slightly incorrect. I couldn't finish my sentence. It's like a mechanical jam. The girl approached me a bit stiffly. The coat worn over the pajamas was taken off. The light nightgown left on the bed reveals a well-developed figure. I can't help but agree. If someone is unusually kind to the opposite sex for no reason, there must be other intentions behind it. At this moment, Lu Ruyan exudes an inexplicable sense of pressure. He steps closer, and I step back, until I find myself sitting down in the chair. So, when he closed the door, he had this in mind. The girl continues to speak. I believe what you told me in the car, and you brought me out of that place. I'm really grateful to you. If you need me to repay you. Lu Ruyan leaned forward in her seat. One arm rested on the back of my chair, while the other hand held the armrest. A pleasant scent wafted from her. The girl's face had turned a deep crimson. She kept getting closer, as if we were already familiar. She whispers in my ear. Her voice is soft as a mosquito. I'm fine with it. Let's get to the point. She ran away. First of all, girls shouldn't say things like that casually, especially when you look really good. Secondly, it's too early for you to have those thoughts. At least wait until you're an adult to say that. Finally, it's getting late. You should get some rest. I'll be leaving now. He quickly finished saying this. The young man in the car, calm and collected, left the room in a somewhat flustered state. Lying on a strangely comfortable bed, Lu Ruyan wrapped herself up in the blanket. She could still feel her face slightly flushed. Does he think of himself as someone very casual? This question echoed in Lu Ruyan's mind as she tossed and turned in bed. Eventually, tired of rolling around, she threw off the blanket, exposing her head and letting out a deep sigh. What she just said is not a lie. He is indeed ready for whatever happens tonight. Psychological readiness to fully accept everything. Lu's more than 10 years of experience has taught him. He set his goal from the very beginning to have some ulterior motive. In Lu Ruyan's view, besides oneself, she can no longer give anything. So he made up his mind to turn himself in, but that person rejected it after a moment of hesitation. Still left such words. Don't need to wait until I come of age? Lu Ruyan murmured to herself. Memories in my mind surge like the tides. That was the day that marked a turning point in his life. Error. At dinner that day, Father Lu Ming, in front of everyone, announced this news to Lu Ruoyan. It's not a discussion. It's not a notification. It's not even a command. The tone was just like mentioning something trivial. Very casual. Mother Chen Xiuyue had no reaction other than surprise. What happened? Recently, the negotiation representative from the He family was He Jianjun. His son He Chong is just a punk. He's not as difficult to deal with as his father. He quickly agreed to sell us the land in the eastern part of the city. Lu Ming said proudly. The only condition was for us to hand over a few regular shops under the group. And then there's Lu Ruyan. I never expected that a character like He Jianjun would raise a son, who is such a lecherous guy. Congratulations, Dad, for finally securing that piece of land. Elder brother Lu Jianyun raised his glass happily at this. He clinked glasses with Lu Ming. As expected, that He Chong is just an uneducated rich kid. He gave up the land so easily. The head of the He family must be furious now. Lu Ming laughed heartily, that's for sure. I think he's not as good as my son, not even close. Ha ha, even though the He family is more powerful than ours. But my son is definitely way better than He Chong. No wonder the He family's young master is like that. After all, our sister only has this face that's somewhat decent. It's just a pity that He Chong is quite handsome, but has poor taste. Second sister Lu Rue glanced at the girl sitting on the wooden stool. Sarcastic, but it's actually pretty good. After someone leaves, our family can be much more peaceful. Seriously, Dad, she wrinkled my limited edition clothes yesterday. Can you help me make sense of this? Oh, forget it. This is your sister's last day at home. As her older sister, just bear with it a bit. In a few days, Dad will buy you a few more of those clothes. Sure. Thanks, Dad. I love you the most. Laughter rings in my ears. There's a vast chasm between the lively atmosphere and my solitude. Lu Rian sits in the corner with her head down. In the bowl, there's the noodles I cooked myself. It's nothing like the lavish feast on the other side. From beginning to end, he never treated Lu Ming. Give an opinion on your own arrangements. Just sitting quietly like a breathing puppet. No emotional fluctuations. He whispered in a voice only he could hear. He Chong whispered that name. Lu Ruyan came back to her senses from her memories, slowly drifting into a dream. I can't believe this female boss is using this to test the Ganbu. Which cadre can withstand such a test? Oh, I can handle it. It's fine now. After returning to my room, the earlier scene was still vivid in my mind. This girl can cause such a huge impact now. Just imagine how it will be when she grows up. Honestly, I almost went along with it just now. Fortunately, our country has a complete set of criminal laws for this. I stared blankly at the ceiling. Lu Rian's actions were indeed beyond my expectations. It seems that not only is it about others' opinions, even he feels the same way. I brought her here for him. No, I'm actually doing it for him, but not for that kind of purpose. It seems that the development of the female antagonist is happening now. The road ahead is indeed long and arduous. I grumble about turning off the lights and going to sleep. The next morning, when Lu Ruyan arrived in the living room, I am still preparing breakfast. He and I exchange a glance. Somewhat unnatural to look away. She obediently sat down by the couch. After setting out 4 bowls of noodles, I went to the living room and said to him, "You can start eating. Don't wait for the noodles to get mushy." Then I went upstairs and knocked on my parents' door. Dinner's ready, and they were already awake. He Jianjun replied with a yawn. Got it, you guys eat first. When the 3 of us returned to the living room, Lu Rian was still sitting by the couch, looking at a few sheets of paper on the coffee table. Yao Yuqing leaned in curiously. What are you looking at? Lu Ruoyan was startled. She quickly waved her hands at us. I'm sorry, I wasn't looking on purpose. This was just left on the table, and I wasn't paying attention. These are the few stores that you just acquired from the Lu family. You seem to have some thoughts based on how you looked earlier. He Jianjun glanced at the paper and found the content somewhat familiar, asking Lu Ruoyan. Seeing He Jianjun's expression, Lu Ruoyan realized he wasn't joking. After hesitating for a few seconds, I carefully spoke up. I think these few shops. On the other side, I was enjoying breakfast with Yao Yuqing. calmly observing the situation in the living room. I heard Lu Ruyan continuously sharing her opinions with He Jianjun. He Jianjun nodded slightly as he listened. The admiration in his eyes was becoming increasingly evident. I took a bite of my noodles to hide the growing smirk on my face. Those few pieces of paper were intentionally placed there. That's the point of this plan, JPG. Then someone tapped me on the head. Yao Yuqing looked at me with disdain. What are you thinking, laughing so foolishly? Then she turned and called out to Lu Ruyan. All right, come over for dinner or it'll get cold. What's there to talk about with that workaholic guy? Hurry up and come over. When Lu Ruyan sat at the dining table, He Jianjun was still sitting on the sofa, flipping through those documents. I went ahead and brought the bowl over. How about I place it on the coffee table? I asked casually. He Jianjun stacked the documents and set them aside. This young girl has some talent in business. That guy Lu Ming must be blind to have overlooked her for so long. As he spoke, He Jianjun gave me a few assessing looks. Did you already know about this, you brat? That's the only time such a request would be made. I secretly sent someone to investigate that piece of land. There might actually be something down there. Just consider it my lucky day. I must have drawn an SSR card, right? I chuckled and passed the bowl over. If we don't eat soon, it'll really get cold. On the way to school with Lu Ruyan, the girl in the back seat suddenly spoke up, asking for a favor. No problem. I'm just about to head out too. I turned the car at the intersection. I slowed down on the gradually waking road. The atmosphere suddenly became a bit awkward until the school gate came into view. Lu Ruyan finally spoke softly. Her voice was barely audible. Only I could hear it. I parked the car and turned to look. The girl's hair covered her face. Her exposed ears were slightly red. Lu Ruyan quickly opened the car door. She jogged out. It's nothing, I'll be on my way. The bold little girl from last night is actually feeling shy. I watched Lu Ruyan's retreating figure with a faint smile. I got back in the car and drove to another location. When I arrived there, everyone else had already arrived. Xiao Di greeted me as I entered the private room. We've been waiting for you forever. Look, Yunhe is already asleep. Xiao Di patted the sleeping Zhou Yunhe beside him. He woke up groggily. Is dinner ready yet? But don't sleep anymore. I sat down and asked if Jiangzi had arrived. When has Tang Jiang ever been the last one to show up? Xiao Di's tone carried a familiar sense of resignation. He shook his head casually and started to nudge Zhou Yunhe little by little. I was just about to continue speaking. Then I heard the sound of the door opening behind me. Tang Jiang walked in holding a file bag. As soon as I entered, I heard you two chatting. I must be quite inconsiderate. Xiao Di stopped talking. She just looked up and started enjoying the scenery. This ceiling is really something, isn't it? I noticed the file bag in Tang Jiang's hand. How's everything going? It's worse than I thought. I can't believe they secretly did these harmful things. Due to family background reasons. Tang Jiang was utterly indignant when he said this. Zhou Yunhe finally woke up. Xiao Di also turned his gaze back. He asked, is this the reason you gathered everyone today? Nodding at the syrup while placing the documents on the table. Inside are some things the Lu group has done over the years. Take a look, everyone. During the break, Lu Ruyan sat in a corner seat. No one came to talk to her. And due to her personality, she didn't think about chatting with others either. To put it simply, she didn't have many friends at school, but she had always spent her school life like this. Yet today, Lu Ruyan felt strangely out of place. She found herself missing the soft bed from last night. Suddenly, someone gently tapped her on the shoulder. Lu Ruyan snapped back to reality. She saw that the person taking pictures of her was sitting behind a wall. It was a quiet-looking girl. After confirming that Lu Ruoyan was looking over, the girl signaled for her to look towards the door. It seemed like someone was looking for you. Lu Ruoyan walked out of the classroom in confusion. She saw a petite girl standing against the wall by the classroom door. It looked like she was waiting. From the style of her school uniform, you should be one grade lower than yourself. May I ask what you need from me? Lu Ruyan asked with a puzzled look. She vaguely felt that the girl looked somewhat familiar. You're the third young lady of the Lu family. The petite girl circled around Lu Ruyan. As if she was assessing something, she kept nodding. It's a bit strange. But Lu Ruyin felt that the other person had no ill intentions. The petite girl stood still in front of Lu Ruyin. He tilted his head and stared into her eyes. Come with me. It's worth mentioning that, although the petite girl tried hard to appear more authoritative, the height difference between them made him look somewhat ridiculous. What does he want to do? Lu Ruyin speculated in her heart. Due to family reasons, she was very sensitive to others' malice, like her own parents and siblings. It makes her feel uncomfortable, but He Chong and the others wouldn't. The girl in front of her has a strange attitude, but just like He Chong, she means no harm. Lu Ruyin has been following the girl to the corridor, quietly waiting for her to speak. Then the petite girl suddenly turns around and rushes right in front of her. The previous dignified appearance vanished completely. Her eyes were wide open, sparkling with excitement. Do you remember me, senior? We met last year at Grandpa Zhou's birthday banquet. We just didn't greet each other. I didn't expect to find you so beautiful up close. You're the one from the Chiu family. Lu Ruyin was surprised by the change in the other person. But after hearing her words, she also recalled why she found the other person familiar. My name is Chiu Luoluo. Chiu Luoluo doesn't know what she's so excited about. I never expected that the senior would become He Chong's girlfriend. I was shocked when I heard it from my brother. Lu Ruyin is just something else. What is this guy even talking about with his stubborn attitude? Last night's outrageous actions suddenly flooded back into my memory. Lu Ruyin's face turned noticeably red. She started to fidget for no reason. She raised her hand to tuck her hair behind her ear. Don't say that, it's not true. Chiu Luoluo looked at Lu Ruyin's reaction and knew she didn't believe her at all. What else do you want to say? Did that ringtone really have to go off so soon? Well, senior, see you at noon. After a moment of disappointment, Chiu Luoluo brightened up again. She ran downstairs with a smile. Lu Ruyin was still standing there, listening to the urgent class bell ringing. The girl raised her hand to gently press down her flushed cheeks with her hair. What's wrong with me? There have been fatalities at the construction site more than once. But those incidents were covered up. They often exploit the workers' wages. That's really heartless. My situation is even more outrageous. There's talk that this company might be involved in tax evasion. And there are also rumors about higher-ups taking advantage of female employees. Yunhe, what about your situation? Well, mine is still normal. It just recorded a project manager's wife catching him cheating at the company. Then I found out that my husband was with Qing. The janitor uncle engages in in-depth communication. Let me take a look at how these words are put together to form a sentence. I have finished reading everything. The syrup clapped its hands to signal us to look over there. These are just the things I can say. There are even more serious inconveniences that cannot be disclosed. He looked at me as he spoke. You asked me to investigate the Lu group from various perspectives. I thought it was just a joke. I didn't expect there to be so much stuff. If it weren't for my buddy's connections, I probably wouldn't have uncovered any of this. I have to be honest. A lot of this is new to me as well. I finished going through all the materials with a frown. The original work didn't go into detail due to length constraints. The Lu group's complete villainous form in the north is like smoke. What shady dealings they had before bringing it down. Looking back, it's truly a case of them being irredeemably evil. I just remembered something. By the way, Jiangzi, about the materials you have. Can we hand them over later? What are you planning? Just one look at my expression, and Tang Jiang knows. I've got another clever idea. It's fine, but we can't delay it for too long. How long do you want to wait? Haha, I'm smiling like a villain. Wasn't it just the other day that the Lu group took a piece of land from me? When they start the construction, Zhou Yunhe said, we all know about this. So why would you give up the land? That place has a high commercial value. I have a theory. I don't know if you usually watch shore dramas or anything. In shore dramas, this situation often has a certain possibility. After a long silence, Chiu Di finally spoke up. He looked at me, and for some reason, my glasses started to reflect light. Just missing the background music from Death Note, the elementary school student. And that saying, there's only one truth. There's a tomb beneath that piece of land. I choose to smile and remain silent. That's an answer in itself. Wow, you're really something, aren't you? Syrup instantly understood and teased. All right, I'm in. I'll wait for them to start working. Zhou Yunhe pondered for a moment, feeling emotional. You really are a sly one, aren't you? Hold on, I need to clarify this. I said seriously, I'm not old. Xiao Di said, yes, you don't age. Speaking of which, how's the new member of your family doing? In an instant, 3 pairs of eyes turned to look. That's just the way things are. I told them what happened. I left out what happened last night in Lu Ruyan's bedroom. Then Zhou Yunhe suddenly spoke up leisurely. So you mean there's a youthful and beautiful girl living with you? It's almost like you're living together. Uncle and aunt will be moving out soon. It's just you two, a lonely man and woman, living together. Yeah, you really deserve it. Zhou Yunhe has turned gray. He slumped in a chair as if he had burned out, staring at the ceiling. I suddenly thought about playing tug-of-war with my neck and the beam. What should I do? First of all, that's called hanging. Secondly, this isn't the first time you've been scammed in an online romance. Can't you be a bit more careful? Xiao Di said helplessly. Also, He Chang forgot to tell you. Luo and Lu Ruyan are from the same school. From the way he was this morning. Xiao Di gave me a look that said, good luck. You should really think about how to face that third miss. I was completely confused, but I quickly figured out, because Lu Ruyan's attitude towards me that night became quite subtle. It was originally just about what happened last night. It makes his gaze a bit unfocused when he looks at me. Now, he just completely avoids making eye contact. When talking to him, he's also kind of dazed, like a robot that always needs a wake-up call like Anin knows. And there's also a suspicious blush around his ears. It hardly fades away. I worry that the kid's head might overheat. My mom, who hasn't moved out yet because of this, even came to question me, saying, are you bullying him? Who is really your child, Mom? No need to think. It must be the same as what Xiao Di said. Did Kalo whisper something to Lu Ruyan that made this girl, with her dual nature of blind thrill, turn into a coward? Based on my impression of Kalo, her character is pretty simple. She loves shipping couples. You probably heard something from Xiao Di. That's why he went in a meltdown mode. 2 more days passed. He Jianjun and Yao Yuqing officially moved out. Before leaving, He Jianjun talked to me one more time. He entrusted me with full responsibility for that piece of land. Yao Yuqing held Lu Ruyan's hand. She spoke sincerely for a long time about everyday matters. After they left, my cohabitation with Lu Ruyan officially began. However, since Lu Ruyan spends 90% of her time at school, nothing particularly special happened. Moreover, after leaving her indescribable family background, this girl has become much more cheerful. Even though he has been coming home every night during this time, I've noticed his gaze gradually shifting from evasive to hesitant, and now it's burning with intensity. But I don't think it's a major issue. Well, based on those Yander novels I've read, it still feels a bit dangerous. I need to have Xiao Di keep an eye on him. Xiao Luolu, don't let him keep stoking the flames. We've gradually gotten used to living under the same roof, and during this time, Lu Ruyan hasn't shown any unusual behavior, right up until the first day of his long vacation. Kachong, do you have any plans for tomorrow? Lu Ruyan, still in her pajamas, came to the living room in the morning. She said to me, who was sitting on the sofa. I thought for a moment and said no. What's wrong? Then come on a date with me, the JK girl declared. The next morning, when I came to the living room dressed and ready, I found Lu Ruyan already waiting at the entrance, all prepared. She wasn't wearing her usual pajamas or the typical school uniform. Lu Ruyan wears an off-shoulder light blue dress. The hem flows like a rippling lake surface. Beneath the surface, her delicate ankles and white platform shoes are revealed. Her fair, slender arms are crossed in front of her, holding a small handbag in a very demure pose. Today, she didn't tie her hair into a ponytail, but chose to let her smooth, long hair cascade over her shoulders. The black hair adds a soft touch to her aura, compared to her usual girl-next-door vibe. Lu Ruyan's outfit today gives off the air of a refined lady. Upon closer inspection, it seems she's even wearing light makeup. Have you been waiting long? I walked over. Lu Ruyan discreetly sized me up with her eyes. Then she coughed lightly, covering her mouth with a fist. Not at all. I just finished getting ready. As she said this, she opened the door. Shall we head out? Walking down the road, the bright sunlight warmed us. I'm walking next to Lu Ruyan. Why did she suddenly ask me out? It must be that girl Chihuahua who set this up. Lu Ruyan turned her head to look at me. With a serious expression, she said that mentioning other girls during a date is a no-go. I get it, that's a big deduction. After a brief moment of confusion, I started to understand. What's the situation today? Looking at Lu Ruyan, I couldn't help but smile. This girl is really something. I feel like you're laughing at me. Lu Ruyan said with a hint of annoyance. I think you're right about what you think. Upon hearing this, Lu Ruyan playfully tapped my arm, but she didn't use much force, so I just let her do it. After all, in Chiodi's words, this might count as a kind of reward. I can't argue against that, so I've lost some points. Can you tell me the answer to the question? Lu Ruyan retracted her fist and nodded gently. She was just about to speak. Then she suddenly paused. Her face turned slightly red. Immediately, she hurriedly shook her head. It seems like it might not be working out, but you've made me even more curious. What exactly did you two talk about? By the way, let me confirm something. Lu Ruyan blinked. I really admire Lu Ruyan's reaction. It sparked a bit of competitiveness in me. Are there any extra points today? There definitely needs to be extra points. This is how you can ignite a guy's desire to win, right? Xiao Luoluo took a bite of the cake. With a serious expression, she said to Lu Ruyan, "This is exactly how I play games with my brother, and then I can successfully win his pocket money." I see. Lu Ruyan listened attentively, nodding from time to time. The pen in his hand kept jotting down notes in the notebook. Of course, the key is to learn to adapt on the fly. With that, Xiao Luoluo fed Lu Ruya a French fry. "Senior, I've already asked my brother about this. Kachong is pretty easy to handle." Lu Ruya indicated that she understood. "Luoluo, you really know a lot." At that moment, Xiao Luoluo proudly puffed out her chest. "I'm the master of the corner. Let's not talk about that. Why did you suddenly decide to ask her out?" Lu Ruyan thought for a moment. "Because I feel really strange. Sometimes I can't even look at him." Xiao Luoluo straightened her posture a bit. "And the day before yesterday, I accidentally ran into her. She was just out of the shower, not wearing a top. That image is like it's burned into my mind." As Lu Ruyan spoke, she lowered her head. The sound has also gotten a bit quieter. Xiao Luoluo's eyes began to sparkle. "What do you think of Brother Chong? He's really nice. If I oversleep, he'll come wake me up. He's quite skilled. The food he makes is also really delicious. He'll even come pick me up when it rains. The umbrella will tilt towards me." Lu Ruyan didn't think much and just blurted it out with a bang. Feeling satisfied after eating, Xiao Luoluo rested her head on the table. A satisfied smile hung on her lips. He gave a thumbs up to Lu Ruyan, who looked confused. "You got this, I believe in you." Lu Ruyan felt encouraged by the other person's support. "But what's with the awkwardness? Come on, you're almost there," I said to Lu Ruyan while standing by the claw machine. At that moment, Lu Ruyan's expression was serious. Her eyes were fixed on the slowly descending claw, watching as it successfully grabbed the toy's ear and lifted the toy up, nervous to the point of holding one's breath. But those who have tried to catch a toy know. Halfway through the journey, he suddenly experienced muscle weakness. It's not a rare occurrence. The result is that Lu Ruyan looked disappointedly at the toy that was close to the exit. "Fall down again." The girl let out a sigh. "Look at me with a pitiful gaze. Don't be discouraged, just look at me." I rubbed Lu Ruyan's head. Put the last 2 game coins into the machine. Take a deep breath. My eyes sharpened. Calculating the trajectory and landing point of the claw, now is the moment. I pressed the button in a flash. With Lu Ruyan, I watched the claw descend with hope. After a while, Lu Ruyan emerged with a large teddy bear and walked out of the arcade with me. He buried half his face into the teddy bear's head. His voice was muffled. "I thought you really could catch it. I must have pressed the button wrong earlier. Let's give another shot next time." I touched my nose. I just failed to show off. The outcome was even worse than Lu Ruyan. The clamp didn't even hold the doll for a second. In the end, I decided to use my superpower. I bought a doll to give to the girl next to me. Even though she said that out loud, the sparkle in her eyes and her body language said otherwise. The effect of the dancing sunflowers reveals the girl's emotions at this moment. What was that effect just now? Before I could figure it out, I felt someone gently tugging at my hand. Lu Ruyin tightly hugged her teddy bear with one hand, while pointing to the milk tea shop ahead with the other. Do you want to grab a drink? After playing in the arcade for 2 hours, I was feeling a bit thirsty too. So I nodded in agreement. Then Lu Ruyin naturally used the hand that had just tugged at me. She took my hand. The girl's hand was soft and a bit warm. She gently held my hand, feeling nervous and tentative. I noticed that Lu Ruyin's ears were faintly flushed. I, oblivious to the mood, pulled my hand away. I'll let her lead me to the milk tea shop. I'll have a lemon water with 70% sugar, please, and a mint milk green tea with 50% sugar. After entering the shop, Lu Ruyin let go of my hand. She told the staff her order. She only noticed I had been staring at her after placing her order. Is something wrong? You seem a bit awkward. Honestly, I was just a bit surprised. You know my taste. I've done a lot of research these past few days, Brother Kachong. Lu Ruyin pressed her lips together. Looks like I'm the only one who prepared for the date. I'll deduct 5 points from you then. My expression froze. But I really like this bear, so I'll give you an extra 15 points. Lu Ruyin, don't turn your head away. Bury your face in the teddy bear. 115 plus 15. Just to be safe, I calculated it in my head a few times. The conclusion I came to is that this girl seems pretty easy to please. While waiting for the drinks to be made, I can feel Lu Ruyin's affection for the teddy bear, because he keeps rubbing his face against the fluffy bear's ears. Brother Hichong, I want to ask you a question. Lu Ruyin tilted her head and looked at me while hugging the bear. Will 1027 still be here when I grow up? The shopkeeper's voice interrupted Lu Ruyin's words. The girl looked at me as if she had just woken up. Her puzzled expression said it was nothing. She jogged away to hide behind the counter. We went to the cinema to watch a comedy. We picked out new clothes for each other. Lu Ruyin is basically a clothes rack. She looks good in any style. I feel like I'm playing Miracle Nikki. Before I knew it, I ended up buying a ton of clothes. But what I'm really curious about is, when it came time to check out, Lu Ruyin blushed and carried a small bag. She paid for it separately, but refused to tell me what was inside. Seeing her shy like that was pretty amusing, so I teased her a bit. In the end, she became a flustered JK girl. They deducted 10 points from me again, but they quickly added the points back. By the way, until we got home, that stuffed bear never left Lu Ruyin's embrace. I asked if she was happy today. Yeah, no one has ever taken me out to play before. Even when I was taken out, it was just to various business banquets. Lu Ruyin spoke calmly, as if she were talking about someone else's life. So this has been the happiest time of my life. And it's precisely because of this that I wanted to confirm my feelings today. So what was the result? The conclusion is that those feelings weren't just a fleeting whim. That's why I also bought this little bag from Lu Ruyin. She clearly let me help with everything else. But for that little box she bought, she wouldn't let me see it no matter what. I caught a glimpse of it while they were packing in the store. I only know it's something black. I asked him what exactly was inside. Lu Ruyin just said it was a wonderful tool that would be useful later. This made Lu Ruyin quite curious. He picked up his things, ready to put them back in his room. I also planned to put my things back inside. When entering the bedroom, Lu Ruyin turned around. He suddenly said, "Brother, in 2 months, I'll be an adult." After saying that, he didn't even look at my reaction. He hurriedly closed the door. I was left standing at the door, completely confused. It feels like I've misunderstood something from the very beginning. He probably didn't mean to remind me. Remember to get her a birthday gift. I scratched my head and returned to my room. Just as I set my things down, a phone call interrupted my thoughts. It was Lao He calling from Chiodi. Lu Ming is having a press conference the day after tomorrow. Should we join the fun? I was startled when Chiodi's voice came through. The press conference is happening soon, and the construction will start in a few days. That old guy's been quite smug lately. Chiodi chuckled and said, "Well, speaking of which, the time is approaching." I see. I've been busy keeping company with others and haven't paid attention to that old coot. I said, "Then see you when the time comes. When that time comes, just make sure Yuni doesn't overhear what you just said." Otherwise, he'll want to elbow the ground from up high again. After saying that, Chiodi hung up the phone. At the banquet a few days later, try the syrup. I think this dessert tastes a bit like cockroaches. Chiodi handed a snack from the plate to the syrup beside him. The syrup frowned and took a bite. Is indeed crispy with a hint of bitterness. Hearing this, Jo Yunha beside them calmly spoke up. No, cockroaches don't taste like this. I'm absolutely sure. I stood aside watching these three deities ponder. Should I keep a distance from them? This banquet is quite large in scale. Almost all the guests are big bosses with significant status. There are a few who are even richer than my family. Did you hand in the stuff? I asked Syrup, and Syrup nodded. Don't worry, the timing is all set. But isn't your family member coming today? As soon as Tang Jiang finished speaking, Zhou Yunhe gave him a tap on the back of his head. Could you maybe use your brain to think about what we did today? Is it appropriate for him to be here? Xiao Di sighed. Your emotional intelligence always seems to be used in strange ways. But didn't he say anything? Well, he did say something. I was silent for 2 seconds. He told me the password to Lu Ming's safe. He said the evidence is all inside. It took the 3 people half a day to come up with this number. What else were we planning to talk about? An annoying voice suddenly appeared. Lu Rui's deliberately charming voice came from behind me. Isn't this young master he? Has my useless sister been causing you any trouble lately? Xiao Rui should not be rude. Lu Jiangyun reprimanded his sister with some polite words. Then, with a hypocritical smile, he reached out his hand to me. It's been a while since I've seen you 3, Kachong. Meanwhile, Lu Ming walked onto the stage, ready to start his speech. I focused on Lu Jiangyun's hand. I chose to hand over the previous plate of snacks from in front of Chiodi. But there were still onlookers. Someone couldn't help but laugh out loud. Lu Jiangyun's expression started to falter. Kachong, I haven't offended you, have I? Or are you really interested in my third sister and want to stand up for her? You know that what you did is worth someone standing up for her. I took the juice that was handed to me with syrup. Let me give you a little spoiler. There's going to be a great show today. I looked into the eyes of Lu Jiangyun and Lu Rui. I smiled and asked, do you think of the audience or the actors? In the next moment, the door to the banquet hall was suddenly pushed open. A large group of people stormed in with great momentum. In the future, our Lu group will definitely shine even brighter. On stage, there was a passionate speech being delivered. A group of people barged in and interrupted the conversation. At the forefront was a middle-aged man in uniform. He was followed by several others in the same attire, and a few police officers. Also accompanying them were several men in suits. They walked straight to the podium. All the guests' eyes focused on them. The venue fell silent in an instant. Mr. Lu Ming, we are a joint investigation team from the City Tax Bureau and the Public Security Bureau. The middle-aged man showed his identification. According to credible evidence, the Lu group is suspected of multiple serious violations. Please cooperate with our investigation. Lu Ming's smile froze on his face. This must be a misunderstanding. Comrades, our Lu group has always abided by the law. If there's any misunderstanding, we will naturally investigate it thoroughly. Please assist us in our work. The middle-aged man's voice was filled with authority. We also ask Mr. Lu Jianyun and Miss Lu Rui to cooperate with the investigation. The members of the investigation team walked towards us. Lu Jianyun's face turned pale. She quickly looked at the podium. Dad, what's going on? Lu Rui was so scared that she took a step back. I don't know anything. Lu Ming hadn't answered yet. The man in the suit who came with him also took 2 steps forward. He pulled out several documents from his briefcase. And there's one more thing, Mr. Lu Ming. According to our investigation, the land your group is about to develop has a large ancient tomb beneath it. So we ask for your cooperation in our work. Typically, we would offer you compensation. But given the current situation, the man in the suit and the middle-aged man exchanged glances. We kindly ask that you cooperate with the police investigation. No, that's not possible. Lu Ming frantically grabbed the documents. The more he looked, the paler he became. Finally, my legs went weak and I knelt down on the ground. I quietly watched this scene unfold. I took a sip of juice. What do you think about me recording this to take back? Zhou Yunhe shook his phone and said, Then I'll send it to you, and you send me a copy too. Xiao adjusted his glasses, admiring the once orderly banquet now turned chaotic. Some people really are punctual, huh? Of course, Tang Jiang said proudly. Don't you even consider who arranged this? Zhou Yun has seemed pensive. You mentioned the safe code given by Lu Ruyan. What if there's even more shocking information inside? I set down my cup. Let's go. Things are about to get chaotic here. We turned and left. Before we left, I glanced at Lu Ming. He looked over at me, lost in thought. A smile tugged at the corners of my mouth. He gently raised the goblet in his hand. Then he left without looking back. Behind Hichong, Lu Ming's furious roar echoed. Stepping outside the banquet hall, the fresh air was refreshing. Next, he asked me what to do about the syrup. We'll wait for the investigation results. The Lu Group may face restructuring or bankruptcy liquidation. I straightened my suit jacket. By then, the He family will participate in the auction to acquire some of their quality assets. Xiao nodded. My family will probably join in too. If you all are going, then I want to go as well. Zhou Yunhe suddenly popped up with that line. After saying our goodbyes, I drove home. My phone buzzed a bit on the way. It was a message from Lu Ruyan. Are you coming home for dinner? I made a few dishes. I smiled and replied, I'll be there soon. As I pushed open the door, the aroma of the food hit me. Lu Ruyan peeked out from the kitchen wearing an apron. Just in time for my return. I just finished making the last dish. Her expression was calm, just like usual. The table was set with 3 dishes and a soup. They were all home-cooked dishes, but looked great. I took a bite of the braised pork, and it was delicious. When did you learn to cook? Back when I was over there. The servants often forgot to prepare meals for me. But fortunately, they didn't ban me from using the kitchen. Lu Ruyan said casually. She picked up a piece of green vegetable and put it in my bowl. Today's events have already made the news. My family's actions paused slightly. Do you have any thoughts? Lu Ruyan quietly ate her meal. I don't feel anything special. They haven't been family to me for a long time. Watching them end up like this, I actually feel quite relieved inside. He lifted his head, his eyes clear. Since the day you took me away, my family has only been you and uncle and aunt. Well, I have a live video. Do you want to see it? I want to see it. I feel like I could eat 2 more bowls of rice after watching it. Then maybe eat a little less. Don't upset your stomach. I said this while handing over my phone. After that, there wasn't much left to say. The Lu family is swamped with their own affairs. They don't have time to trouble us. This continued until the birthday of Lu Ruyan. I was woken up early by the doorbell. When I opened the door, I saw Qiu Di and Qiu Luo, along with Zhou Yunhe and Tang Jiang, 4 of them in total, standing at the door with big bags and small bags. What are you all doing here? I rubbed my sleepy eyes. We're here to celebrate the birthday of the birthday girl, Qiu Luo said with a cheerful smile. Sister Lu invited us here. That's when I remembered. Lu Ruyan did mention inviting friends over. Hichong, that bathrobe of yours. The syrupy gaze taking in my outfit was quite peculiar. I looked down and realized I was still wearing my dinosaur onesie. It was a Christmas gift from my mom last year. This is something you all don't understand. A dragon is a symbol of royalty, Qiu Di chuckled. This means He Chong can become emperor now. If you keep making those jokes, I might just plug my ears. After I brought them inside, I chose to go back to my room to change. Wait for me a few minutes. When I came out again, Lu Ruyan was already up. She was greeting the guests in the living room. The guests were giving gifts to the birthday star. Lu Ruyan was wearing a white dress today. Her hair was tied back in a ponytail with a ribbon. She looked very fresh. Happy birthday. I walked up and handed her the prepared gift. Lu Ruyan's eyes lit up. Her smile became even brighter as she said thank you. She shook her head, not wanting to open it yet. She said she would open it later with the other gifts. Qiu Luo leaned in. Sister Ruyan, my brother, and the others brought a barbecue grill. How about we have a barbecue in the yard at noon? I'm all for it. Lu Ruyan looked at me. Her eyes were asking, and I nodded. I'll go prepare the ingredients. Qiu Di, come help me. The whole morning just flew by like that. The villa is filled with a joyful atmosphere. Lu Ruyan really looks happy. She smiles much more than usual. But just when the barbecue was halfway done, the doorbell suddenly rang. An unexpected guest. I went to open the door by myself. There's an unexpected person outside. Lu Rue. She looks much more haggard. Her eyes are red and puffy. She must have been crying. What do you want? I frowned. I want to see Ru Yin. Lu Rue said softly. Dad and my older brother have been taken away. The house is a complete mess. Mom asked me to find Ru Yin. She said maybe she could help. I raised my eyebrows. I just remembered her now. How did you treat her back then? Lu Rue bit her lip. I know we were wrong. But who is brother He Chong? Lu Ruyan's voice came from behind. He froze for a moment when he saw Lu Rue at the door. We were wrong. Ru Yin, can you do me a favor? Lu Rue wanted to say something with a choked voice, but she was interrupted by Lu Yin. Second sister, if you're here to apologize, I accept it. Lu Yin said calmly. But if you're here to ask for help, I'm sorry, I can't assist you. Ru Yin, we're family, Lu Rue said anxiously. Family? Lu Yin found that hilarious. You treat me like a servant, like a bargaining chip, and when I needed you the most, you were never there. He took a deep breath. Ever since the day you made me leave, I have had no ties to the Lu family. Lu Rue wanted to say something, but I'd already closed the door. Are you okay? I softly asked Lu Ruyan. As I said before, I don't care about her. Lu Ruyan shook her head and smiled at me. Let's go back. The meat needs to be handed in. The birthday party lasted until the evening. After the guests left, the villa returned to calm. Lu Ruyan happily unwrapped gifts in the living room. With each gift she opened, her smile grew even brighter. Her face was flushed. She must have sneakily tasted some wine while I wasn't looking. This one is from you. He picked up the gift box I gave him, carefully unwrapping it. He found a delicate necklace inside. The pendant is shaped like a bear. I noticed you seem to really like that teddy bear, so I thought you might like this necklace. I said it actually depends on who gives it. Lu Ruyan handed the necklace to me. Could you only put on? I moved behind her. He lifted her long hair to put the necklace on her. His fingers accidentally brushed against the skin on the back of her neck. She shivered slightly. Lu Ruyan turned around. Her fingers gently traced the necklace. There was a sparkle in her eyes. This is the happiest birthday I've ever had. Thank you, He Chong. I'm glad you like it. It's getting late. I'm tired from all the fun today. Time to take a break. I can see the exhaustion in the girl's brows. Lu Ruyan bit her lip and decided to wait a little longer. He Chong, I have a gift for you too. It's a way to thank you for taking care of me all this time. I really didn't expect this part. Surprised, he asked what the gift was. Let me prepare it first. You'll find out soon. After saying that, the girl hugged all the gifts, ran back to the room. Is it really that mysterious? But to be honest, I'm quite touched. I waited in the living room with 1,000 thoughts. But after 10 minutes, there was no sign of Lu Ruyan coming down. I hope nothing's wrong. After all, he seemed to have had a bit to drink. I frowned slightly and quickly walked to the front of Lu Ruyan's room. Just as I raised my hand to knock, you were still okay. I hadn't even finished talking. My hand hadn't even touched the door yet. Suddenly, the tightly closed bedroom door swung open. A slender arm burst forth with surprising strength. Before I knew it, I was pulled into the room. Then I was pushed down onto the bed. I stared at the ceiling. My head was buzzing. What just happened, He Chong? I accidentally saw your collection before. I noticed that most of them are wearing this on their legs. I just thought you might really like it. There was a tingle coming from the bedside. Lu Ruyan started with words that were enough to make me confess to a crime. He came over before I could sit up. He was on top of me. His hand were gripping my wrists, holding them beside my head. Her face was still flushed. I couldn't tell if it was from the alcohol or from shyness. I heard what he just said. My gaze instinctively dropped down. Lu Ruyan's knees were propped on either side of my waist on the bed. Her long legs were wrapped in a sheer black fabric. It was hard to look away. You were mesmerizing. I tried to shift my gaze, but less than half a second later, I declared defeat. I started to admire her intently. I was very sober. I only drank a little to boost my courage, Brother He Chong. Do you remember what you said to me that night? Lu Ruyan asked me. I suddenly couldn't figure out what was going on. You said you would wait until I come of age. Lu Ruyan shook her head. The body leaned down slightly, but my face is only a few centimeters away. I see the hazy gaze of Lu Ruyan, a bit more aggressive, already an adult version of JK. The girl's tongue lightly brushed against her lips, whispering in my ear, "Bro, I turn 18 today." The next morning, I was woken up by my phone vibrating. I looked at the time and realized it was almost noon. Luckily, I didn't have any plans today. I sighed as I carefully pulled my arm out of Lu Ruyan's embrace and quietly walked to the hallway to answer the call. "What's up?" I asked. Yao Yuqing said, "Come out and help us get some things. Your dad went to the office, and I can't carry everything by myself." "What are you talking about?" I'm asking while heading downstairs. Yao Yuqing answered me. "It's a birthday gift for Ruyan. Yesterday was for you young folks. Today it's our turn to give gifts, right?" After I helped my mom carry in 7 or 8 bags, Yao Yuqing asked me where Ruyan is. She was exhausted yesterday and is still resting. I tried hard to keep my expression from looking so weird. Yao Yuqing frowned at his words. He stared at me, examining me closely. Finally, he looked at the mark on my neck and smiled knowingly. "You haven't had a chance to look in the mirror today, have you?" As he spoke, he turned on the camera to show me the obvious red mark on my neck. At this moment in the bedroom, the morning sunlight streamed through the gaps in the curtains, casting warm golden patches on the wooden floor. When Lu Ruyan woke up, the space beside her was already empty. She rubbed her eyes and sat up. The blanket slipped off her shoulders, revealing red marks on her collarbone. Faint voices could be heard coming from downstairs. After washing up, he changed into casual home clothes. Going downstairs, he saw Yao Yuqing stacking several gift boxes. On the coffee table, Aunt Lu Ruyan looked a bit surprised. Yao Yuqing smiled brightly, her eyes curving. "You're awake. Come here. These are all birthday gifts for you." Yesterday's share was for He Chong and his friends. Today's share is for Uncle and Aunt. Lu Ruyan walked over and sat down by the sofa. Yao Yuqing took her hand gently. Her loving gaze swept over the marks on her neck. They were strikingly similar to those of her own son, but she said nothing about it. She just gently asked if she was settling in well during this time. "Yeah, it's like I'm dreaming," Lu Ruyan said softly. "Sometimes when I wake up in the morning, I still think I'm in that little room at the Lu's house." Yao Yuqing gently patted her hand. "Don't worry, He Chong is that kind of kid. He may seem a bit off, but he's actually more serious than anyone else. Since he brought you back, he will definitely take responsibility." Lu Ruyan's face turned slightly red. I lowered my head, knowing that's good enough. Yao Yuqing smiled as she opened a gift box. Inside was a complete set of jade jewelry. This was given to my aunt by my grandmother when she got married. "It's too precious to pass down to you now," Yao Yuqing insisted, making it impossible for her to refuse as she put it on. She admired the jade necklace. Nodding with a smile, she said it looked beautiful. "This will eventually belong to you." Lu Ruyan was taken aback. She understood the meaning behind Yao Yuqing's smile. Her face turned red all of a sudden. I stepped out of the kitchen when it was time to eat. I said to the two of them. Years later, the wedding venue was filled with guests, friends and family from both sides, along with business partners, and a bunch of onlookers. Xiao Di served as the best man. He was secretly adjusting his overly tight bow tie. He muttered softly, "Who designed this thing? It's really unique, like a noose." Zhou Yunhe and Tang Jiang are sitting in the front row. The latter is filming with his phone. Zhou Yunhe presses it down. "Are you live streaming this? Can you have some decency?" "I recorded it to send to the group. Luo wanted it." "Why didn't you say that earlier? Tilt the angle a bit this way. Get his mom in the shot too." Xiao Luo stands at the side as the bridesmaid. Her eyes were red with excitement. She clutched a tissue in her hand. She kept sniffing. Tang Yang glanced at her, wondering why she was crying. Zhou Yunhe calmly acknowledged that the couple they shipped finally became a reality. "Huan and I, you're crying too," as the music starts playing. The previously closed door slowly opens. Lu Ruyan stood at the doorway in a beautiful white wedding dress. The veil gently fell. She linked arms with someone. She stood there alone, watching me on stage with a slight smile. Guests in the audience were whispering, "Why is the bride all alone?" I heard something happened with the Lu family. No one came to escort her. That's just too much. Before the words were finished, Lu Ruyan stepped in. She walked steadily, step by step. Her gaze never left me. Without her father by her side, no family to send her off. But he walks more firmly than anyone else. I stand on the stage, watching him walk towards me. Suddenly, I remember the girl who sat in the back seat a few years ago, hiding herself in the shadows. Back then, she asked me why I chose her. Now I can finally answer him. Because from the very beginning, I wanted to see you, the way you walk into the sunlight. She stands before me, her hand resting in mine, having waited so long. She softly asks how long it's been, and I say just a few years. She smiled, her eyes a bit red. The host started reading the vows, but neither of us was really paying attention. Mr. He Chong, do you take Miss Lu Ruyin as your wife? For better or for worse, in sickness and in health? I do. Miss Lu Ruyin, do you take Mr. He Chong as your husband? Of course I do. The host was taken aback. I hadn't finished asking. No need to ask, Lu Ruyin said, I do. Laughter erupted from the audience. Chiu Luo cried even harder. While crying, I filmed Chiu Di. Did you see that? Sister Ruyin is so cool. I saw Chiu Di roll his eyes. First, loosen my tie, it's choking me. When it was time to exchange rings, I took her hand. I suddenly noticed a small callus on his finger. It's from all those years spent writing problems and plans. I slipped the ring on, and it fit perfectly. When it was his turn to put on me, his hand trembled a bit. He tried for a long time, but couldn't get it on. Don't shake, I'm speaking softly. I wasn't shaking, but his mouth was tough, and his hands shook even more. The audience was laughing. It was hard to get him in there. He sighed in relief and shot me a glare. I leaned in and whispered, weren't you quite the troublemaker last night? Now your hands are shaking, and his face turned red. He stepped on my foot. The host finally seized the opportunity. Now the groom can kiss the bride. I lifted the veil and looked at her made-up face. But her eyes were still as clear and bright as ever. With a hint of mischief, just like Chang'e, he suddenly called out to me, thank you. For what? I asked. He didn't answer. He stood on his toes and kissed me. The applause from the audience was thunderous. Chiu Luo was crying and almost fainted. She was supported by Chiu Di, so she didn't fall down for a long time. He whispered in my ear, thank you for being willing to wait for me. After the wedding, there's a banquet. I went around to toast each table. Lu Ruyin changed into a red toast dress. Staying by my side, we walked to the table of the groomsmen. Chiu Di was already red-faced from drinking. He stood up and raised his glass. He Chong, I toast to you. We've been brothers for so many years. And finally, I get to see you get married. I raise my glass. But drink less, you still need to take me home later. Don't worry, you know my drinking capacity. Chiu Di down in one go, and then just passed out on the table. Zhou Yunhe calmly helped him sit up straight. There's no need to show off when you can't handle your drink. Tang Jiang held up his phone and leaned in. Come on, you two stand together. Let me take a picture. I stood side by side with Lu Ruyin. She linked her arm with mine and smiled sweetly. After taking the photo, I checked it. Not but. This photo could be used as a wedding photo. This is a wedding photo. I mean the kind that gets hung on the wall. That's not what you call a wedding photo. That's called a wedding photo. Pretty much. Zhou Yunhe is adding fuel to the fire. He doesn't even have a girlfriend. Talking to him about this is pointless. Tang Jiang, Zhou Yunhe, do you guys want to fight today? When we walked over to Chiu Luo's table, her eyes were still red. Seeing us come over, she immediately stood up with her arms wide open. I want to hug you like smoke. Lu Ruyin smiled and gave her a hug. Chiu Luo leaned on her shoulder, choking back tears. You must be happy, okay? You have to be, or the couple I ship will be doomed. All right. Lu Ruyin patted her back. Chiu Luo let go of her and turned to me. Her expression suddenly grew serious. He Chong, if you dare to treat Sister Ruyin badly, I will be the first to oppose it. Why wouldn't you agree with me? Just so my brother cut ties with you. Chiu Di, who was already passed out nearby, suddenly looked up. What? Who wants to cut ties? No way, we can't do that. After saying that, he passed out again. I was at a loss for words. All right, I'll remember that. When the dinner was about to wrap up, Lu Ruyin went to the restroom to touch up her makeup. I stood in the corner, drinking water alone. Suddenly, someone walked over, and it was Lu Rui. She looked much more haggard after several years. Wearing a plain dress, The pride she once had was gone from her face. Xiao stood in front of me, looking a bit awkward. I looked at him, but didn't say anything. I just wanted to see Ruyin, he said softly. I knew he didn't want to see me. I also had no right to appear before him. But today is her wedding. He paused and looked up at me. Can you help me pass on a message? Just say I'm sorry. Her eyes were red, and also wish her happiness. I stared at her in silence for a few seconds. Why don't you tell him yourself? Lu Rui was taken aback. She followed my gaze. Lu Ruoyan had come back at some point. She stood not far away. The two sisters exchanged glances from a few meters apart. Lu Ruoyan walked over, stood beside me, and looked at Lu Rui. Lu Rui's lips moved slightly. I heard everything. Lu Ruyan said calmly, I've received your blessings. Lu Rui's eyes turned even redder. Things from the past. The past is already behind us. Lu Ruyan interrupted her. I won't forgive you, but I won't hold a grudge forever. That's too exhausting. She paused for a moment and gently linked her arm with mine. I'm doing great now. I have a loving husband. I have in-laws who care for me. Having true friends is enough. Lu Rui's tears fell. Nodding vigorously, she said, That's good, that's good. He turned and walked away. After a few steps, he turned back to take one last look at Lu Ruyan, then disappeared into the crowd. Lu Ruyan leaned on my shoulder and sighed softly. Is everything okay? I asked. It's fine. She lifted her head and smiled at me. Let's go. The guests haven't all arrived yet. The banquet ended and the guests dispersed. Xiudi was dragged into the car by Zhou Yunhe and Tang Jiang. Before leaving, she didn't forget to lean against the car window and shout, He Chong, congratulations on your wedding. Tomorrow I'll call you when I wake up. You should wake up first before saying that. Zhou Yunhe pushed her back into the car and closed the door. Xiu Luoluo ran back to hug Lu Ruyan before getting in the car. Sister Ruyan, I'm leaving. I'll message you tomorrow, so remember to reply. And then she whispered something in Lu Ruyan's ear. Lu Ruyan's face turned red all of a sudden. Xiu Luoluo ran back to the car with a big grin. Before closing the door, she made a heart gesture at us. Once the car drove away, it finally quieted down at the villa entrance. Lu Ruyan and I stood at the door. Isn't it tiring watching the last car's taillights disappear into the night? I asked. Not really, she said, leaning on my shoulder. Just my feet are a bit sore. I've been in these high heels for too long. Let's go inside, okay? In the late-night honeymoon suite, I opened the bedroom door. It was already decorated. Bright red bed sheets and covers. Petals scattered across the pillows. Aromatic candles placed on the bedside table. And a bottle of red wine with 2 glasses. Lu Ruyan was taken aback for a moment. This was set up by my aunt. Who else could it be? I walked in and picked up the wine bottle to take a look. There was even some wine prepared. Do you want a drink? She shook her head. I've had enough to drink today. Then for a shower, she nodded and went in the bathroom. I sat on the edge of the bed, listening to the sound of water in the bathroom. Suddenly, I felt a bit dazed. It's been years since we brought her out of the Lu family. It feels like it all just flew by. Back then, she was still a gloomy high school student, hiding in the shadows. She wouldn't even say a few extra words, but now, the bathroom door opened. Lu Ruyan walked out in her nightgown, her wet hair cascading over her shoulders. Her face still had a rosy glow from the steam. She sat down in front of the vanity. Start drying her hair. I walked over and took the towel from her. I'll do it. She paused for a moment. Then she obediently sat still, letting me help her dry her hair, Brother He Chong. He suddenly spoke up. So you really said at the wedding that it's just a few years? What do you mean, really? You said that when I walk in front of you, it's only a few years. She looked at me through the mirror. Do you really think time isn't long? I thought about it. What does it mean to say it's long or short? It's long because you know how hard I've been waiting. I put down the towel. I picked up the hairdryer. A youthful and beautiful JK. She keeps swaying in front of me every day. I have to hold back. Do you know what a huge test this is for a normal man? She chuckled. So how did you manage to hold back? Thanks to our complete criminal law system. I turned on the hairdryer to help her dry her hair. The hot air was blowing away. He sat quietly, occasionally glancing at me in the mirror. It was almost done drying. I turned off the hairdryer. I tucked her hair behind her ears. He looked at me through the mirror. His eyes shining, he said, "Thank you, brother Hee-chong, for waiting for me." I leaned down and gave him a kiss on the top of his head without any hesitation. He turned around to face me, his arms wrapped around my waist, and now he tilted his head back. There was a hint of mischief in his eyes. "Does this mean we don't have to hold back?" I raised an eyebrow. "Aren't you tired?" "After taking a shower, I'm not tired anymore." She buried her face in my embrace. Her voice was muffled. "And today is our wedding night." I looked down at her and suddenly smiled like Lu Ruyen. "Do you know that you look just like someone right now?" "Who?" "That girl from a few years ago who, in her pajamas, pinned me down on the chair and asked if I needed to repay her." Her body stiffened and her face turned red instantly. "You still remember that?" I leaned down and whispered in her ear. "Back then, I ran away." Now she lifted her head, her eyes sparkling as she looked at me. "I'm not running away now," I said. He smiled, wrapped his arm around my neck, and pulled me down. The candle on the nightstand flickered gently. The moonlight outside was just right, and the night was still young. The story feels a bit rushed, doesn't it, author? Then let's continue with the wedding part that Ding Dong got used to. The original text just has an ellipsis. It's also a side story I added myself. About that ribbon. One day after the wedding, Lu Ruyen suddenly called me while cleaning out the wardrobe. "Ka-chong, come here for a moment." I walked over and saw him holding that old ribbon, the one that was tied on the dress when we went shopping for our first date. "What's wrong? Look at this." She unfolded the ribbon and pointed to a line of small text on it. I leaned in to see that it was written in black marker. "For the future, Mrs. He." I was taken aback for a moment. "When did you write this?" "I didn't write it." She looked at me with a smile in her eyes. "You forgot it was the day you wrote it." I'm trying to recall. Suddenly, I remember that day after buying clothes. The clerk neatly folded the dress, placed it in a bag, and tied it with a ribbon. I think I did take the bag and wrote a few words on the ribbon. "I thought you didn't see it." I touched my nose. I did see it. He carefully folded the ribbon back and placed it in the box. That night in my room, I stared at it for a long time. "So why didn't you say anything?" She looked up with sparkling eyes and said, "Hee-chong, are you really thinking about marrying me? What if you say it was just a joke?" I was serious back then. I knew he came over and hugged me. "So what am I waiting for?" "I'm waiting for you to really marry me." I looked down at her, suddenly feeling a bit sentimental. This girl has been paying attention to everything from the very beginning, keeping everything inside without saying a word. I call her Lu Ruyen. Do you know? Sometimes you're quite terrifying. Why did she blink? Because she can endure so much. Loving someone can mean enduring for years. You can endure for years for what you want as well. Aren't you afraid of getting sick from holding it all in? He thought seriously for a moment. But what has all that endurance led to? He looked up at me and smiled, holding in until you arrived. I was taken aback for a moment, and then I smiled. All right, I guess you know how to talk. Extra Episode 2. Chiu Luo's CP Observation Diary. Chiu Luo's Private Memorandum. Date, wedding day. Recording that today, Sister Yin and brother Hee-chong got married. I cried like a dog at the scene. Honestly, I never thought I'd ship a CP, but I never expected to ship it to this extent. It all started when they didn't even know each other. From them living together, to them dating, and then to getting married. My life is complete now. Sister Ru Yin looks stunning today. Brother Hee-chong looks super handsome today. When they exchanged rings, Sister Ru Yin was so nervous she couldn't put on. Brother Hee-chong whispered something. Sister Ru Yin stepped on him. Ha 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 ha. The host said to kiss. Sister Ru Yin tiptoed up to kiss first. Brother Hee-chong was taken aback for a moment. Then he wrapped his arms around her. I'm dead. 1 month after the wedding date. Today I'm going to their place for a meal. Sister Ru Yin's cooking is getting better and better. Hee-chong is helping out on the side. The two of them have a great chemistry. I suddenly remembered a few years ago. Sister Ru Yin couldn't cook yet. She could only eat instant noodles. Sister Ru Yin serves food to Hee-chong. Hee-chong is ladling soup for Sister Ru Yin. I couldn't stop laughing at the scene. My brother is poking me from the side. Can you just eat normally for once? I say you don't understand. This is what we call immersive shipping. What kind of nonsense is he talking about? Sigh, this is how people who don't get shipping are. Date, 6 months after the wedding. Today I heard a shocking piece of news. Ruyan is pregnant. I'm going to be a godmother, although no one has agreed yet. When brother Heqiang posted on Moments, the picture was Ruyan's ultrasound report, a photo with the two of them. The caption is only 4 words. Upgraded. Thank me for the comment. Congratulations, I want to be a godmother. What does she mean by that? What does this question mark mean? Do you disagree? I don't care. I just want to be the date. A year after the wedding, the baby was born. It's a girl. I went to see her. Sister Ruyan is still at the maternity center. He looks great, and brother Heqiang is holding his daughter. His expression is both silly and proud. He's completely unlike his usual calm self. He family's young master, leaned over to take a look. The little baby is so tiny. She's sleeping with her eyes closed. I asked what her name is. Sister Ruyan said it's Nian, meaning to miss someone. I was taken aback for a moment and looked at Sister Ruyan. Let's take another look at brother Heqiang. Brother Heqiang looks a bit shy. Don't turn away. Sister Ruyan is smiling at her. I see. Who is he Nian thinking about? Anyway, it's not me. Whoa, I've hit my head again. Date. 3 years after the wedding today. Taking little Nian to the amusement park. Little Nian is so cute with her 2 little braids. She's bouncing around as she runs. She calls Sister Ruyan mommy. Call him dad, Heqiang. When you call me, it's Luo E. All right, if you want to move, just move. Better than nothing, especially when riding the carousel. Xiao Nian insists on having mom and dad with him. Heqiang is such a big guy. Squeezed onto the little horse, he can barely stretch his legs. His expression is really funny. Sister Ruyan is laughing so hard next to him. She took dozens of photos with her phone. At night, Xiao Nian fell asleep on the way home. Heqiang held her in his arms. Sister Ruyan linked her arm with his. The streetlights cast long shadows of them. I followed behind and suddenly felt a bit sentimental. From the time they weren't together yet, I started shipping them until now. They've already become a family of 3. Time really flies, but it's okay. I still have a lifetime. We can keep shipping this couple. After all, this pairing is just too good to ignore. It would be a shame not to ship them for life. The extra chapters and the story are now complete. Please like and follow, my dear friends. This account will continue to update with novels and comics.